Welcome back. Now to the scandal that has rocked households and colleges and universities across the country. Students denied admission to the University of Southern California, Yale, and other schools are now filing lawsuits claiming they were denied the fair opportunity to apply to those schools. And that's because parents of wealthy and not so qualified students paid big money to rig standardized scores and bribed sports coaches to get their children accepted as student athletes into these elite universities. Academy Award-winning actress Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, who played Aunt Becky on Full House, are among dozens of parents, elite college coaches, and college prep execs now charged in this crackdown. The criminal complaint claims Huffman paid $15,000 to someone who controlled an SAT testing center. Loughlin's accused of paying $500,000 in bribes to have her two daughters recruited to the USC crew team.
Between roughly 2011 and 2018, wealthy parents paid Singer about $25 million in total to guarantee their children's admission to elite schools, including Yale, Georgetown, Stanford, the University of Southern California, the University of Texas, UCLA, and Wake Forest.
William Rick Singer, the man at the center of the scheme and a cooperating witness, has pleaded guilty to 4 charges in this case. And that is just the tip of this scandal, opening eyes to the competitiveness of college admissions and leaving a whole lot of us asking just how fair is the admissions process. Well, joining us to talk about that are Todd Rinehart, Vice Chancellor for Enrollment at the University of Denver, and Nathan Cadena, the Chief Operating Officer for the Denver Scholarship Foundation. And gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I know that your schools, this is not part of what you have experienced, but really, is college admissions fair? I mean, is it a fair process? I see you smiling.
Absolutely. I mean,
is it?
It's a fair, and that's one takeaway from the story. I hope families will understand that this is a really isolated case with a small number of families. USC, you mentioned, they had 60,000 applications last year. They admitted 8,000 students. So you're talking about 1 or 2 students who gamed illegally the system to get admitted. But I can promise you those other 8,000 students were offered admission, earned it through their hard work, their outstanding credentials, their curriculum, their high grades.
Yeah, but you look at a situation like that and you think, how does that get through a school system where someone who pretends to be a student or an athlete really isn't, and yet nobody else seems to know?
The system is meant to look at a student holistically. So merit for sure, absolute grades, assessment scores, but really they're supposed to take a look at each student based on community involvement, their cultural enrichment in the community, but it's supposed to be fair.
But that has also evolved, hasn't it? I mean, when we're talking about there have been racial and economic disparities in college admission for a long time. I mean, you know, that goes way back, and I suspect some people still feel that's the case today when some parents can do the pre-SAT prep test, I mean, tutors and all of those sorts of things, right?
It is. I mean, there is a disparity there. I mean, even with the standardized test scores that everyone has access to, there is a disparity as far as those who can actually pay for supplemental help for their sons and daughters to prepare. And I mean, that's been something that's been historic in this country forever. However, you know, there are actions taken by districts, by different interested parties to make sure that students are prepared all across the board, no matter.
Talk about that. I mean, what is being done? So you're with Denver Scholarship Foundation. Explain what DPS does.
So DPS, they build test prep into their curriculum. They're really taking a look at how students are prepared for the rigors of academics after high school, no matter what it is, whether it's a technical program all the way to an academic university. But within the curriculum is built logic and test prep some actual test-taking classes, faculty that specialize in different pieces. And there are some organizations that actually have additional services. So in the far northeast, Denver and the Montbello community, there are some historically African-American sororities that will put together a community SAT, ACT prep workshop on the weekend. So it's an issue. We know that that's how students access college.
And at DU, how have things changed over the years so that it can be more welcoming, the college environment can be more welcoming to more students?
Absolutely. And I even want to touch on something Nate said. You know, the scandal that we talked about, the test scores, there are inequities, certainly in standardized testing, and colleges can control that. An admission committee, we can't control if a parent's going to make a fraudulent decision to go buy a test score. I would never know that. Our committee would never know that. But we can control the weight we put on test scores and how we use test scores in our admission decisions, how we use it in our merit scholarship offers. So that's one way to make the admission process, remove a barrier to make the admission process more fair and consistent. And then certainly, to your point, we've got to take that to another level. Once we enroll a student, how are we making our campuses more inclusive, more welcoming, so they're graduating too?
So as parents sitting at home and students sitting at home watching this, what can they do to get a leg up? I mean, is there, you know, doing the right thing? How do you do this?
Well, when a student applies for college, they're putting their best foot forward, almost like preparing for a first date. You know, as Todd mentioned, the college.
First date. That's great.
Yeah, as Todd mentions, the colleges can evaluate all the tangible pieces. So for students and families, they put together written statements, academic profiles. Like I said, almost like an academic resume of sorts, and then it's what they present to the university or the college is what the college has to evaluate. Depending on the type, some institutions will give an opportunity for the student to present themselves in person. However, for the majority of students to get into at least the first phase of enrollment, they put their package together.
We have about 30 seconds left, so I'll let you have the last word on
yeah, you bet. I would just tell families the national admit rate is 68%. So if students are taking care of business, they're working hard, they're taking the right classes, earning good grades, they're going to be admitted and competitive in a lot of schools. I think sometimes nationally we focus on this really small set of schools where it's next to, and you know, Nate and I couldn't get into these schools, and we put our records together probably.
I couldn't either, by the way, for the record.
You know, I think the vast majority of other colleges and universities are really viable options, and if students are working hard, they're going to be admitted at most of those places.
Hopefully without parents buying them into those schools. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Sure. Nate Cadena, Todd Rinehart, appreciate it. We'll be right back.